Beck, I'm working on some things, not only for next year, but in the coming days, that you really need to watch and pay attention to and do your own homework. It revolves around the way things are coming apart and what we're falling into. Europe is coming apart at the seams. The great EU experiment has been a total disaster. Amazingly, their heads are still buried in the sand, mainly because people don't know what to do, and they've been taught that they're too stupid to figure it out on their own. We've been warning you about the coming trouble in Europe. When Greece was in trouble, they say they'd be fine. Oh, they'll be fine. And then they needed a bailout, and then they needed one so big that it would be breathtaking in size. And if they did that, everything would be fine. It would just be Greece. But then Ireland started to crumble. They said, oh, it was nothing. They'll be fine. And then it needed to be a breathtaking bailout. Well, they just were forced to take the bailout. Portugal says it's not needing a bailout. No, everyone's saying it's fine, sure. And Spain is next after that, and so on and so on. We told you that it would be contagious. Why? Mutually assured economic destruction. Spit yourself out of the system or you will go down with it. One by one, they are falling into the arms of a global government, but they still remain in denial. Finally, someone had the courage to try to wake up the EU. I'll show you that in a second. But first, answer this. When America is faced with the very same choice, which will you choose? An America with a freer, smaller, and maybe broke United States and small states? We may be poor. Or do we go for the New World Order? The time for you to decide is coming. Do your own homework and decide. Wake your neighbors up and decide. Because they're facing this decision now in Europe. Listen to the warning.
The whole edifice is beginning to crumble. There's chaos. The money's running out. I should thank you. You should perhaps be the pin-up boy of the Eurosceptic movement. But just look around this chamber this morning. Just look at these faces. Look at the fear. Look at the anger. Poor Barroso here looks like he's seen a ghost. You know, they're beginning to understand that the game is up. And yet in their desperation to preserve their dream, they want to remove any remaining traces of democracy from the system. And it's pretty clear that none of you have learned anything. You know, when you yourself, Mr. Van Rompuy, say that the euro has brought us stability, I suppose I could applaud you for having a sense of humour, but isn't this really just the bunker mentality? You know, your fanaticism is out in the open. You talked about the fact that it was a lie to believe that the nation state could exist in a 21st century globalised world. Well, that may be true in the case of Belgium, who haven't had a government for 6 months, but for the rest of us, right across every member state in this union, and perhaps this is why we see the fear in the faces, increasingly people are saying, we don't want that flag, we don't want the anthem, we don't want this political class, we want the whole thing consigned to the dustbin of history. And we had the Greek tragedy earlier on this year, and now we have the situation in Ireland. Now I know that the stupidity and greed of Irish politicians has a lot to do with this. They should never ever have joined the euro. They suffered with low interest rates, a false boom and a massive bust. But look at your response to them. What they're being told, as their government's collapsing, is that it would be inappropriate for them to have a general election. In fact, Commissioner Wren here said they had to agree their budget first before they'd be allowed to have a general election. Just who the hell do you think you people are? You are very, very dangerous people indeed. Your obsession with creating this Euro state means that you're happy to destroy democracy. You appear to be happy for millions and millions of people to be unemployed and to be poor. Untold millions must suffer so that your Euro dream can continue. Well, it won't work, because it's Portugal next, with their debt levels of 325% of GDP. They're the next ones on the list, and after that, I suspect it'll be Spain. And the bailout for Spain would be 7 times the size of Ireland, and at that moment, all of the bailout money has gone. There won't be any more. But it's even more serious than economics, because if you rob people of their identity, if you rob them of their democracy, then all they are left with is nationalism and violence. I can only hope and pray that the Euro project is destroyed by the markets before that really happens.
If you rob people of this, do you hear what he's saying? They're only left with nationalism, which we warned you of on this program. That is coming. Nationalism and violence. Bottom up, top down, inside out. This is not an American thing. This is not about Barack Obama. This is an international, global problem. That was Nigel Farage. He is the leader of the UK Independent Party. I want you to understand, as much as you possibly can, this will probably be the last political book I write, because politics is not the way to